Right off of I-15 and Pleasant Grove is the combined headquarters of two of Utah's biggest brands, Costa Vida and FatCats. And I'm sitting down with the owner of both of these businesses, Sean Collins, who has quite the story of how he got to owning these two brands. He grew up knowing he wanted to own a business, and some of his first ventures were milk delivery and parking lot striping. But after he purchased his employer's bowling supply business, he and his now business partner, Dave Rutter, sat down in 1999 and sketched out a concept for a luxury family entertainment center, which we now know as FatCats. A few years later, the founders of a little-known Mexican fast casual restaurant called Costa Azul came to Sean and Dave and asked them to invest in their restaurant. After they said no, Costa Azul took off without them, and Sean and Dave realized they missed a huge opportunity, so they asked to be the first franchisees of Costa Vida. And that's why in Provo, you have FatCats and Costa Vida right together. A few years later, Sean and Dave bought controlling interest in Costa Vida and have grown it to the powerhouse success that it is today. In this episode, we're talking to Sean about the risks involved in taking multi-million-dollar bets, the mindset that really leads to massive success, and what it really takes to build a business of this caliber. All of that and more on this episode of UtahPreneur. Sean, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Why don't you give us like 30 seconds on where you grew up, kind of what got you into entrepreneurship in the first place?
That's more than 30 seconds. I'll give you just a quick capsule because that's actually a big part of my story. I'll start here. My mom was born into some tough circumstances. Her mom and dad had an affair, and she was the result of that affair.
Okay.
My grandfather was married with 4 children, and my grandmother was recently married, and she worked in a bar, and he frequented that bar, and they had an affair. My mom was a result of the affair, and my grandfather moved my grandmother and my mom right across the street from his wife and told them all to figure it out. So she was kind of raised in that environment, a lot of dysfunction. And anyway, she went through some crazy, and they would send her to different family members in California or in different parts of the country, and then she'd come back and dealt with a lot of separation anxiety and tough things. She was sexually molested as a little girl. She just got in the wrong crowds, and so she ran away when she was 14. And when she ran away, she lived on the street selling. She got a job selling magazines door to door, and it was there she met my dad.
And this was in Utah?
No, this was in St. Louis.
Okay.
And my dad was a first-generation immigrant from Ireland. And he was an alcoholic and had his own dysfunction. So the two of them created more dysfunction. And but she had 3 pregnancies before she was 19. I think she had her first one when she was 15, and it was a miscarriage, and had my older sister and had me. And then married my stepdad. I think I was 3 years old. And so this is where my whole entrepreneurial drive came from, because that's, it was probably, he was in the Navy. We'd live in different places every couple of years. And as I would see my friends' parents who own their own business, they seemed to have more options than what my dad had, my stepdad had. And I thought, well, heck, if that's personal business ownership creates better options, that's kind of what I want to do. Now, understand, no one in my family had ever owned a business and didn't have the money. We were poor to middle class, our family, and then with all the dysfunction that was in there, it wasn't an easy path. But certainly the vision of owning my own business. When I was real scrappy. I would sell things I'd sell candy door to door. I created a lawn mowing business, just going door to door in neighborhoods, cutting their grass, and with that, realized that as I worked hard, I could create something of value, and that mindset is. I went into my teenage years and kind of came out of high school with that mindset that what's it going to be? What am I going to do?
Got it. And your teenage years were just spent moving around with the Navy. How did you end up in Utah?
So my dad and my stepdad being a master chief in the Navy, every 2 years we were living someplace else that he was stationed. He eventually got stationed in San Diego at the Naval Academy down there, Naval Air Station. And in San Diego, I was 15. And it was there that I actually met my wife, and that friend group in San Diego. I went through high school, graduated there, came to Idaho, BYU. It was Rick's at the time, BYU Idaho today, and that that California experience to Utah and
Nice.
went on a mission. I'm a convert to the church.
Okay.
I'll just reference that in that journey of a dysfunctional young man, sister missionaries knocked on our door, taught our family the gospel, changed the course of our family's life. Now, my family ended up all going inactive, but for me, it gave me insights. It gave me a vision. It gave me an understanding that I had never known before, which completely changed the trajectory of my life.
And that was kind of how you met those friends in San Diego.
Yeah, so that was in, again, I was 14. That was in South Carolina, where the missionaries knocked on our door. And it was shortly after that we were transferred to San Diego. I was 15 in San Diego. And that new friend group, my wife's dad was my bishop when we arrived in California. And that new friend group, again, meeting a lot of those families, those that own their own business. That was the entrepreneurial side. But then there was the other side, just these functional families. I thought, I want that. And so I had to become a different creature. I had to change a lot of things about who I was and the trajectory of my life in order to qualify for someone of the caliber of my wife today and what I saw as a young man that I wanted.
And your first official business you started was something to do with milk delivery, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
that was post mission. I served a mission in Chile, Concepcion, Chile. It was there that I had one mission president who was a captain in the Navy. I had another who was an attorney, and I worked real close with them both. And their belief in me, the way that they saw me, helped me see myself differently. And with my experiences there, I was learning leadership. I was learning how important it was to be an example, and learned the real value of integrity, doing the right thing when no one's looking. And those experiences just fed this desire to come home and do something, to start a business. My wife was going to BYU in Provo, and when I returned, I just got a job. And with that job, I started on the side actually doing a graphics company, hired some BYU students to do graphic work, and I peddled it and sold that, did the milk delivery company. It was a company, the Utter guys, they were going out of business, and I was working for them, and I could see why they were going out of business. So I thought, well, I'm gonna do it right, and so started that and sold that to another party, and then I started a striping company. All the while, I kept my day job. And this is stuff that I just did on the side. And it's kind of a fun story with the striping company. Again, I had no money. I'm just figuring things out. And to buy a striping machine, I tried to buy it direct from the manufacturer, Airlesco, out of Moorpark, California. And I learned that they only sell through distributors. So I asked them what it took to be a distributor, and you had to have a $50,000 opening order, which was an unbelievable number to me. But what I did is I went around here in Utah to all these different rental yards, and I pre-sold a bunch of airless painting equipment till I got enough money to be able to have a $50,000 order and enough money to buy my striping machine. And as soon as I got all that put together, I drove to Moorpark, California, brought them the money, loaded all that stuff in the back of my truck, brought it back to Utah, delivered it to all the rental yards, and I had my striping machine.
Nice.
And then my wife and I, for 2.5 years, she was going to school, and working, and I was working during the day, but at night, we'd both come home from work. We'd sleep till about midnight. When we'd get home 5 or 6 o'clock, we'd get to bed as soon as we could, sleep till midnight. All the parking lots were empty at that time. So from midnight till 7 in the morning, she'd sleep in the car, and I'd whistle and wake her up, and she'd move the headlights to the next section of the parking lot, and I'd stripe till I couldn't see anymore. And that company grew. We got into roadway striping in Wyoming and Arizona, Colorado, here in Utah, big trucks doing the glass beads on the highways. And it was through the success of that company that I was able to buy where my day job was, the bowling supply company.
Oh, okay. And you'd been working for the bowling supply company for...
That was a day job. Yeah,
for
I started off making...
3-4 years at that point, I assume?
Probably, shortly after I came to Utah, so I had been there for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real quick, going back to the striping business, how were you getting all of these jobs?
I would literally go out on, there'd be Saturdays or the late nights when I could stripe. I would go out in the mornings before I went to work or a little window of time after work, and I would just like when I sold lawn care door to door, I would just go and say, hey, I see your parking lot needs to be restriped, and I'd get the contract, and then I'd be able to do repeat striping as it wore out, and
Oh,
just kind
okay.
of built that up.
Realistically, your schedule at this point is like stripe from midnight to 7 a.m., going to your day job at
Yeah, I
8:30.
typically, I think it was 8 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. I'd work there till 5, come home, have dinner with Kristen. We'd go to bed as quick as we could and get some sleep, and she'd get some sleep in the car when I was striping, but it's just the price we had to pay.
Yeah, that's wild. So how many years was that
Two
going
and a
on?
half years.
Okay. You buy the bowling supply business,
Uh-huh.
and how does that change this schedule? Are you still pretty much working the same hours?
Yeah, yeah. It's even today. I think I'm working the same hours, but anyway, we owned the striping company, and when we bought, I went from just working at this bowling supply company to where I was managing it, and the owner, he had an individual had been with him for 20 years, wanting to buy the company. He didn't want to sell the company to the individual, and so he approached me and said, "Hey, would you run it for me?" Which I agreed to do, and so I was managing it. But probably a year or two into it, with the striping company really growing the way that it did, I went back to him and said, "Hey, we need to look at an exit. Someone needs to be able to come in and run this business for you because my business is really starting to take off." Because I was kind of doing them both, and that's when he said, "Hey, just keep running them both and just buy it from me. I'll sell it to you on terms." And so then I just was running both businesses for a period of time until I sold the striping company.
Okay. What do you remember in terms of like finances for you at that time? Was it a big jump to buy it? I assume most of it was seller financed.
Yeah, it was seller finance, and I was again real scrappy as I had my day job that would pay our bills, and so as we made any money in the business, it was reinvest and reinvest and reinvest, and we just scaled it. We got to the point with our profitability that I could take on some debt, and so I took on some debt. Again, I bought Right Distributing on contract, and as I built the business, all of our profits went to pay that debt down. And as we were able to do that, then we got to a place where we could be self-sustaining with our
Cool.
cash.
So then you've got the striping business and the bowling supply business. What happens next?
So sold the striping business and continued with the bowling supply business for a few more years.
And was
then,
that like hey, I just don't like this one as much, or you had a good buyer? What was the
just a great opportunity.
nice?
Had a good buyer on it, did well in the sale, and that gave me more capital. I just realized that I can be good with these two businesses, or I can become great with one of them.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we sold the one, doubled down. That business was a bowling supply company in the Intermountain West. We expanded, got more into billiards, into golf. We went from just doing balls, bags, and shoes. We had pin setter parts. We got into capital equipment, meaning that we would go into family entertainment centers and completely renovate them. New automatic scoring. At that time, there was still a lot of telescores where people were taking scores, bowling with pencils and
Okay.
overhead projectors, and got into automatic scoring. And so on that capital equipment side, we really expanded. And that grew to where we were also importing product from overseas, selling product to overseas. Again, just as we were building it and we saw opportunity, we just doubled down on the opportunities.
Okay. And so that led to FatCats eventually, right?
Yeah, so FatCats was a family entertainment center. I had a good friend of mine, Dave Rutter, my partner today. He reached out and asked if I'd be interested in partnering with him to build a family entertainment center. I told him I wasn't interested. I had done this for a bunch of people all throughout the Intermountain West, and it was a business that super capital intense and a lot of turnover, and so I said I'm really not interested in doing a family entertainment business. A lot of younger people working, so you just didn't get the tenure with your team. And
Yeah.
but I did tell him that we were building these new upscale entertainment properties that the margins were very different. It was just a totally different type of a business, and took them over to Denver, Colorado to show them one that we had just built. And with that, it was bringing hospitality to entertainment. So if you've ever been to a Dave & Buster's or Jillian's, just upper scale, it was more of that type of an experience. And so with that, we went to work to find we knew we wanted to have a great dining experience inside this entertainment experience. That's where our connection with the Pizza Factory, Bill Randall, who founded that down in St. George, we created a license agreement with him and put the Pizza Factory in our FatCats as we were building them, and built these upscale properties with family entertainment. After building 5 of them, we had 3 here in Utah, one over in Colorado, actually 4. After the 3 here in Utah and the 1 in Colorado, I wasn't sure that we'd build another one. Again, super capital intense, even though it was upscale, a lot of the similar seasonality of that business. And one of the things that we noticed in our location in Ogden, Utah, there was a Larry H. Miller Theater right across the street from us. And in Denver, Colorado, there was an AMC Theater right across the street from us. And I would see during these seasonal periods when we were down, I would see how much volume that they would do in these theaters. So we had the idea of, well, maybe let's put the theaters inside of a FatCats. And we learned pretty quickly our landlord in Colorado, EPR, they're one of the largest publicly traded REIT, and they build movie theaters, one of the biggest in the country. And so we became friends with them and approached them and said, hey, what would it take to put a movie theater inside of our FatCats? And they explained that it's not as easy as you think. It's a good old boy network. You can't just jump into the movie business. They said your best bet is to buy an existing theater and run it really well, so you kind of get the attention of the studios out of Hollywood, and then you might be able to scale from there. So we did. We went to Rexburg, Idaho. We bought an existing facility, converted it to a FatCats, and we did incredibly well as it relates to the amount of the population that came to our property. Now, Rexburg, Idaho, you're not going to get the traffic that you're going to get in some of the other big cities, but by percentage of those that were attending movies, it was phenomenal, and the studios liked that. Nice. So then we approached them about building one in Arizona, in Gilbert, Arizona. And we built that one in Gilbert over a decade ago, and it changed the game. We saw that where I told you that I didn't think we'd do another entertainment property with the theaters in there. You have Hollywood driving all this traffic into your building. It was, okay, we've got a model here that removed the obstacle of the seasonality. And so from there, we designed what you now see is all of our buildings are the same today, 63,000 square foot. It's got luxury movie theaters, it's got bowling, virtual reality, arcade, great dining experience. That was the genesis of FatCats, and the evolution is what we see today.
I see. So the fact that Hollywood was driving all that traffic also upped the arcade sales and the bowling sales and the food sales.
Yeah, so as everyone's coming in to watch movies, as they're waiting for their movie, they can now spend some money in the arcade, get a bite to eat. And it was important to us that we didn't just have a food service, but that we provided a great dining experience, that the food was upscale. And now it's, you're going to go to FatCats to watch a movie. You can pull out your phone and say, okay, what's showing? Those are the seats that I want. You can show up 5 minutes into the movie and into the previews, and your seat's there. As soon as you come in, your food's brought to you in your seat. I mean, it's a great experience.
That's beautiful. What prompted the name FatCats?
Great question. It was an accident. We were at my home, and we were talking about wanting to have a catchy name, and I had referenced this project that I told you about earlier over in Denver when I took Dave and his wife over to say, I wouldn't want to do a family entertainment center as most people know it, but this upscale, let me show you this one that we're building in Denver, and the name of it was Fat City. Okay. And so I referenced it. I said, this one over here, it's Fat City. It's this great property. And so we went on in conversation, and later in the conversation, somebody that was in the room said, hey, that name over in Colorado, FatCats, that's a pretty cool name. And I said, well, it was Fat City, but yeah, FatCats is a pretty cool name. So we just went with it.
Okay. So cool. And did you have any other projects come across your desk at this time? You mentioned before at one point you had 84 LLCs.
Yeah.
Were you dabbling in other things, or was it just bowling supply and
No,
Fat Cats?
great question. I was. We had an import. I mentioned that through the evolution of this business, we got involved in the import export. So I was manufacturing product over in China. You might remember, it's still there today. The tent cot. It's if you go to Costco or Sam's, it's the cot that can turn into a tent if you need
Okay.
it to. We had the patent on that. Had it manufactured over in China and brought it over, and we were selling it to your mass merchants. That import-export business, we did mattresses, we did hot tubs, we did these tent cots. There was a bunch of things that we just would source and manufacture and bring them over and sell. And then again, through that, we made real strong connections in Japan and in China. And so there was product they wanted over there, and they would tell us what they were looking for, and we'd go find it here in the U.S. And so we started sending stuff
Okay.
that way as well. So the trade select import export was a business that I was doing. We within the paint in the paint was a business that was started by Kevin Santiago, a local business owner here, and with that screen printing primarily, and we expanded that business into promotional products and embroidery. And today, one of the guys that worked with me bought it from me. He's converted that to Prodigy Promos and has scaled that business and done phenomenal. But that was early on part of the portfolio. Had a Intermountain Development Group. We would build homes and sell homes. I mean, quite diversified. It did take the rest of our time to kind of go through and just talk about some of these ventures. But I will say this, it kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier. We were good at a lot of things, and they were profitable businesses, but we weren't great at any one of them. And so we assessed all that we had and determined, okay, let's get these all off our plate. Let's pick one or two. Today it's Fat Cats and Costa Vida, and that's what we do. And so today, and this was a hard lesson for me to learn as an entrepreneur, Steve Jobs is the one that first said it, that I heard it, that it's more valuable the things you say no to versus the things you decide to do. And so I started to learn as an entrepreneur, it was really important for me to assess the opportunities and get really good at saying no.
Yeah. I think the quote I heard is, you know you're rich when the money you say no to feels better than the money you say yes to.
Great point. Great lesson.
So were these just like, they just come across your desk like, hey, we can sell Mod Bod t-shirts, or we can sell a tent cot, or how did you get into so many different businesses?
Well, I'll just touch on a couple of those. Yeah, it just organically came together. But ModBod, I mentioned we had the screen printing company, and ModBod, anyone that remembers that company, they were putting their logos on their product. And so it started out that we were bidding to do the screen printing on their product. And with that relationship, it just evolved. They needed capital to be able to scale. And so we partnered and then later bought them out. And then later sold it.
Okay.
And so with all these ventures, it was just an extension of something that we were already doing.
Yeah.
And with that, there was an opportunity that we see, and we doubled down on the opportunity. Again, on a lot of opportunities that were good, but in many cases, it just became distractions, and it just prevented us from really getting great at what we did, because we were just in so many different things.
Got it. And Sean Collins, at this point, is he like, do you just enjoy incubating it and kind of getting it out to market and growing it? Or what was the motivation? Like, why hadn't you learned that lesson yet of focusing on just one thing? Was it just, there's so many things, it's so exciting?
Yeah. Let me share with you my purpose statement. And I have my personal, what drives me, which is now a version of this, is a purpose statement for our businesses, both our Fat Cats, our Costas. But it's to be a faithful steward of God's children by helping them have a positive impact on everyone they come in contact with. This concept, or this idea, this understanding of stewarding positive impact, that became a big deal to me. And so when opportunities, whether it was within Fat Cats or Coast or any of these other ventures, how could I have a positive impact on those that I'm interacting with, team members, partners, guests? It was just all about stewarding that positive impact, finding every opportunity that we could. And so when you think about that, stewarding positive impact, the world's your opportunity. And so we were chasing that, and then realized, okay, yeah, the world is the opportunity, but you've got to have a strategy. You've got to have a pathway, and you can tackle all of these things, or you can really get focused and ultimately have a greater impact with fewer things than just a broad impact on many things.
Got it. And I assume you're having kids at this point, like your family's growing and you're incubating all these businesses. What was it like?
Yeah,
I mean, you're what, 25, late 20s?
Yeah, so when this happened shortly after my mission, so I was 22 I was 21 when we got married. It was 5 months after I was home from my mission,
Okay.
and within those 3 years, so yeah, early 24, 25, that these businesses were now ours to build, and we'd had our oldest daughter. We had her, I think. I was 24, something like that, and every couple of years. We have 5 kids today, and it was an amazing journey. I mean, I remember this screen printing company that we had. I had an 8-year-old son that just was every bit as aspirational, ambitious, and driven as me. And so when he was young, he was just constantly trying to find something to do. And so he went down. He asked if he could work at the screen printing facility, and I told him he was too little and too young. I mean, they were doing a lot of production through there. And he said, I could do it. Let me go talk to, he knew the guy that was running it. He said, let me just talk to him. And so he talked to him, and Chris came to me. This is the guy running it. Says, hey, Brian's wanting to throw his hat in the ring here. I own the company, so what do you think I should do? And I said, well, if you want to give him a shot, see what he can do. Long and short of it is, he was one of the best guys on that machine. I mean, he just at 8, 9 years old, and he made enough money by the time he was 10 to buy his first 4-wheeler. Just worked in the summers, and yeah, I mean, the family. It's even today, it's a family affair. All of my kids own Costa Vidas, and they're very entrepreneurial and driven, and it's fun to watch them. And It's fun to watch their kids now with their drive and ambition. It's an exciting thing to see.
That's fun. So you were taking them around to everything you were doing.
Oh yeah. When I had that supply company here in the Intermountain West, there's bowling centers all over these mountains, and Wyoming and Montana and Arizona, and I'd pull them out of school and take them with me. And
Nice.
it was a family affair, a lot of fun.
Very cool. Okay, so when does Costa Vida come into the picture?
So now FatCats is coming up on 25 years old, and Costa is coming up on 22. And so Costa, the manager of our FatCats in Salt Lake, was a brother-in-law of Dave Rutter, my business partner. And he approached us. He was ready to be done managing FatCats, and he was an entrepreneur. Hey, I have this idea, and wanted to start Costa Azul. He used to work with the Cafe Rio brand, and just saw the great opportunity that was there, and said, hey, I'd really like to do something like that. We turned it down. We were super busy with all that we were doing. He went and got another financial backer, and they started the very first. It was Costa Azul initially. It started in Layton, Utah, and opened it, and it was a barn burner, a phenomenal success. And when I mentioned he worked with Cafe Rio, we were just curious to how that was all going to play out, and it seemed like everything was going okay. There was no. I thought there might be a lawsuit or something along those lines, and there wasn't. They opened it and they were killing it. So we approached Kenny, Dave, and I, and said, hey, we missed the opportunity to back you. Let us be your first franchisee. So we became the first franchisee, and which was the location right there by BYU. We built that, and in addition to putting them in our entertainment properties, we thought this is a great opportunity. Let's build some freestanding. So we built one up on 1600 North, took the first one to Idaho, up in Meridian, Idaho. I think when we built our third or fourth location, there was a lawsuit with Cafe Rio, and they battled it. I think it was for a couple of years. We weren't super close to that at all, so I don't know all the details, but I know they battled that for a couple of years, and we just kept opening stores. When they were done with the lawsuit, when it was all done and settled and gone, we had, I think, 11 stores, and there was like 23 in the entire brand, and Dave and I were providing support to all of them, and so we approached them and said, hey, we'd like to buy the brand, and so we bought controlling interest of the brand, and the rest is history. I mean, that would have been that would have probably been 19 years ago, something like that. And today, this year, we'll close out 2025, I think, with 106 locations.
Wow.
And it's been an amazing run, and the best is yet to come.
I'm sure.
Costa to this very day is what really sets Costa apart is we still, everything is brought from scratch. We bring our raw ingredients in, we apply our recipes, and any of us that eat a Costa, it's just great food. And it's to bring it from scratch, it's hard work. And we've just determined that as we build this brand, we'll always do it the hard way. That's how come it's as good as it is, because we just don't. As we've grown, we just have not gotten to a place we take shortcuts.
Got it. So talk to me about, you said when the first location came out, you were worried about a lawsuit from Cafe Rio.
Uh-huh.
Why was that?
Well, just that Kenny worked with them, and when you worked with them, I think he had a non-compete, as I recall. I'm going off memory, so I'm not 100% accurate or sure of the details. But we just they were similar enough that we knew that Cafe Rio had already sued some other people that tried to knock them off. So we thought, is this going to be another one of those? And even when they sued Kenny and JD, they thought that they had the recipes or whatever. And once they did their discovery and realized that, okay, this isn't what they thought that it was, that's when they settled out and found good terms that they could both live with. But early on, we knew that they had threatened lots of lawsuits and they had gone after other people. And so we thought, is this just going to be another one of those? If it is, we're not going to back it. We're too busy to get involved in something like that. And when they did it and opened it and they didn't go after them or anything, we thought, hey, dang it, we missed it. So then we entered the game and we're opening stores, and then it did happen. And it was they, like I said, they battled it for a couple of years and got to the bottom of it. And today, Cafe Rio is a great brand growing, and Costa certainly created a name for itself.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you think made Costa Vida such a barn burner from the beginning?
I think the fact people are very conscious about just good, fresh ingredients. The food that we make, we don't add, you eat our food, you don't get these preservatives, MSG, or anything put into the food. When you eat that food, it's clean food, and you don't feel like after eating it, you got 100 pounds in your gut.
Yeah.
It's super. The flavor profile is amazing, and it's interesting to me as I think about it. That brand now is 22 years old. I still to this day eat Costa 3-4 times a week. I just never get tired of it. It's just that good. And we didn't just come up with a food offering. I mean, our executive chefs. I mean, they really put a lot of time into creating the flavor profiles, the menu that we have, and our guests vote with their wallets, and they love it. So
very cool. If you had to live off a Costa Vida menu item for a month, what would it be?
For me, it would be if I could just choose and not worry about, I eat all the sweet pork till I could never. Sweet pork is just so amazing.
Understandable.
But I would have to probably say I'm a huge fan of our steak tacos.
I need to try the steak tacos. Yeah. I always get the bowl. The bowl's
the bowls.
Really good.
I eat those a lot too, and I'm constantly moving around. But steak tacos are just unreal.
Do you get it delivered up here to HQ?
Yeah, all the time, every day. If you're sitting here, you'll probably see it coming in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And the flavor profile, the fresh ingredients, the doing it the hard way. Did Kenny and JD start out that way, or was that something that you and Dave kind of breathed that into?
Yeah, Kenny and JD, when they worked with these chefs on these recipes and creating the brand, I mean, it was from the get-go, there was an absolute focus on the food. Dave and I really leaned in to hold on to that, not to lose the identity of what makes our food great, but also introducing the guest experience, that when you come into our restaurant, creating that vibe, that feel that's kind of an escape to the coast, and having a great dining experience, a collaborative experience with the people you're eating lunch with. So we have, we talk about the sacredness of the business, keeping the business sacred, keeping our food just as perfect as we can.
Yeah.
And we do everything. We just don't take shortcuts with it. And then with the guest experience, you've seen the build out of our restaurants evolve over these last 20 years, and we feel like we have a a feel in the restaurant when you're there eating that great food. You literally do feel like you have a little bit of that escape, that you're on a beach somewhere.
Yeah, I love it. One thing that strikes me is the quality of the experience as you're talking about, but the food as well. There's a lot of food brands. I mean, I speak for Utah because I've grown up here and seen a lot of them that get like initial traction. They start to crush it. They open all these locations, and then you go in and you realize you have like 3 pieces of chicken and what used to be a really good chicken bowl. And that hasn't happened in Costa Vida to my knowledge. Every time I go, I'm like, it's a repeatable experience where I'm getting something that's high quality. As you've expanded, how have you combated that with what usually happens to food brands when they grow?
It's a great question, and I'll use your word, combating that. It is a fight. I mean, when you scale and you grow and you get more and more, we started off as a franchise brand, and when you have franchise operators, they're business owners, and they, as entrepreneurs themselves, they kind of want to do it their way. But as a brand, you've got to hold the integrity of what makes it special. And we found that as we grew, we were becoming compliance officers, just constantly just having to keep everybody doing it the right way, and we were losing sight of our purpose, stewarding positive impact on all that we come in contact with, and just the passion behind making our food as perfect as we can in this experience. And so we made the decision 5 years ago we battled that battle long enough we don't franchise anymore. All of our growth is corporate-owned stores. We do have some multi-unit operators who are with us from the beginning, 4 or 5 of them, that they're opening stores in and around where they already have a footprint. But all of our growth around the country is all going to be corporate. We found that there we have direct control versus the indirect control you get in a franchise model, and we're able to hold our standards. We're able to not have the battle of hey, you're a franchisee. We get that you own your business, but this is our brand. And whereas now we can just focus on the food, we can focus on the experience, and these franchise partners that we do have that still, whether it's these original multi-unit operators, or some of we've been buying back a number of our stores, but some that are still operating as franchise locations. All of our operators today, whether it's a franchise or corporate, they buy into the vision of what makes this brand what it is. And so today, the business is back to where it's just so much fun. There for a while, the fun, it's tough when your purpose is what it is, but you're just spending all your time about compliance. You lose your soul a little bit. You lose what makes you who you are. So we are back on our game to where we don't have to fight those battles.
And how recent is that you switched?
About 5 years ago is when we stopped signing new franchise partners. We do sign new franchise locations with the existing group, but we don't sign anybody new. All of it's corporate growth.
I read something about your approach of like hiring managers to become franchise partners. Is that, I assume that's before this switch, but I assume those are also your most successful franchise partners. Like they started out as a manager and then they grew into franchise partner.
Yeah, and it's still the same. That's still stewarding positive impact.
Yeah.
So with our managers, we see they're operators. A general manager has the ability to become an operator. As an operator, it's much like owning a franchise, other than you're part of our business, but they share in the profits of that store. And that store they build it as though it's their store. If for whatever reason we have an operator that doesn't do that, now we have the ability to make the changes, whereas in the franchise world we didn't.
Yeah.
But we are very focused on our operators of giving them all the resources that they need to run Costa at the highest level, at the best level we can.
And is FatCats the same? Or are you turning it into corporate stores only, or it's still franchise?
FatCats has always been corporate.
Okay.
We've never done any license agreements or franchises at all. But that's a similar thing. All of our operators and our FatCats, we treat them as partners. As they, any one of our, and we have 8 locations today. We've been selling our early family entertainment centers. We got one left right down there at BYU.
Okay.
This year we'll be tearing that down and building a new building. And now all of our FatCats are cinema entertainment centers. And as they have an operator in that center, we treat them like a partner. They treat that business as though it's their own, and we help them to be as successful as they can be.
Very cool. Tell me about the layers of like operation in, let's start with Costa Vida. So obviously you and your business partner, I assume, are at the top. How many layers until you get to like the manager of a store and the person actually serving the food? And what do those people do?
It's a great question. Here, where we are today, this is the support center. And I like the name support center because we exist because of our restaurants and the operators running these restaurants. So the operators at the store level, they'll have the operator with a general manager, and they've got their team that delivers the experience, the great food and the guest experience. Above store, you'll have what's called a business consultant, and their stewardship is what do we need to provide that operator to be as successful as they can be. And that business consultant is a liaison with this office here, the support center. Here at the support center, you've got your IT, you've got your marketing, you've got operational support, you've got all the different technology, our app, all the support, all the work that's done to make our Costas and our FatCats the best they can be. That work's done here, and that BC that works directly with the operators at the store level and directly here at the support center. They ensure that what we're delivering is what they need and want, and that what we are delivering is in fact getting implemented at the store level. So you got the store team, and then you've got the business consultant, and then from there you've got our team here. With our team here, you've got your C-level, you've got directors, you've got, I think there's in this building, between the two brands, we're probably 150 people that
Wow.
provide the support to these two brands.
Very cool. And the same kind of model with FatCats, I assume.
Yeah, very, very, very similar. And again, you've got FatCats Holdings, which is the support center here, and you got the CV Holdings. And as they provide that support, it is important to understand that it's collaborative. We don't just drive policy and drive initiatives and agendas from here. We have a brand conference coming up in March, and we have throughout the year schools of excellence where we bring all of our operators in, and it's an incredibly collaborative environment. We've learned that our best ideas come from our stores, from our the teams in our stores and our operators, and getting all that feedback and then letting that guide our work here ensures what we then put out to provide support is aligned with what their vision is and what they need at the store level.
Very cool. So you're obviously a very seasoned entrepreneur. We've heard about a lot of your successes. What's a moment where you thought about throwing in the towel, or your maybe worst failure that you can think of?
And I'm fortunate. I wouldn't see any business venture we've ever done as a failure. We've certainly had failures, initiatives, strategies that haven't worked the way that we've wanted them to work. I've never had a business that I would just identify as a failure. And even those failures, those businesses that didn't succeed as much, the things that I've learned probably more through those experiences than these experiences where we're just on top of the world.
Yeah.
Those hard times are when you really roll up your sleeves and you have to figure a lot of things out about yourself, about your team, about the opportunity. And so for me, I wouldn't look at any part of the journey as a failure because it all became part of our DNA.
Yeah.
When I look at the idea of what's the next 5 years look like, what's the next 10 years look like. We did not build these brands. We had a big up at my cabin. We had all of our senior level executives up there, and we were talking. Dave and I were talking with them that, we've had opportunities, private equity that's been knocking on our door for a long time in both brands, opportunities to bring a lot of money in and scale faster than what we're able to do organically. And we explained that the reason we don't go down that road is we feel like we'd lose who we are, what's created the culture that we have. And so we explained to them that we see these two brands as legacy brands. They will outlive us, and we'll be. Dave and I don't do anything that we do to retire. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I think it'll just get to a point someday we just can't contribute anymore. And even today, I mean, the team that we have today, when I watch how they contribute and the work that they do, they're so much better than Dave and I ever were. And so I don't see hanging up the hat or anything. These are legacy brands. It turns out that a lot of our families are very passionate about it. They're involved, and when I say our families, that's not just our kids or family that way. We've got people that have a large percentage of our team's been with us for 20 plus years, and their family. So we want, as we continue to scale it, we want it to continue to help build their dreams and their kids' dreams. We've got people today whose kids weren't even here that are now today working with their parents. It's kind of fun to watch.
Very cool. It seems like you have a really good relationship with your business partner.
Uh-huh.
I assume you've had partnerships that have gone sour. What advice do you have to have a successful business partnership?
Great question. It's much like a marriage, and this probably isn't appropriate to say, but I'll say it. I can't imagine anything worse than being married to the wrong person. And there's nothing better than being married to the right person. And so with the partner, I would always say, be careful just to rush into a partnership. Just like as I give counsel to young people that I'm connected with, be careful to race into a marriage. Just take that time to really assess compatibility and alignment with goals and vision and passions. And when you see there's never going to be a perfect scenario, but certainly ensure that there's alignment with what you want to make happen together. So I would say with Dave and I, he and I, that purpose statement, we put that together. I had mine, Dave had his, and that they were so close, and that's what we've just taken our personal purpose statements and created that's now part of all of our companies, stewarding positive impact, making the world a better place because we exist. And that's true for me personally. It's true for Dave personally. It's true for our businesses, the communities that we're in, that community is better because there's a Costa there. That community is better because there's a FatCats there. So I would say make sure as you have a partner that you really focus and ensure that you have that alignment. That all being said, you can do all the work you want to create that alignment. You never stop working at it. You're always communicating. You're always assessing, how am I showing up? It's always been important for me to make sure with Dave and his family, I am as committed to him and his family, his kids. I'm as committed to their success as I am my own success for myself and my kids. And I feel the same way with team members that are here. People that aren't members of our family, when they are as loyal as they are to us and our company, we have a stewardship to reciprocate that, to give that same loyalty back. But where that is a priority to me, to bring that back to our team and to bring that to my partner, and where he does that same thing, now there's not room for pride, ego, selfishness. When you've got that kind of a mindset, now you're really focused on what's best for the enterprise. And if everybody's thinking that way, again, you just remove so much friction. Now you can just focus on really making the opportunity as great as you can.
It's clear you have like a pretty intuitive understanding of like, you go into a business, we need to add these things, we need to subtract these things. Did you always have that? And what advice would you have to somebody who wants to build that type of skill where they can look at their own business and have a clear roadmap of what needs to be done?
No, I did not always have that. I certainly always had ambition, aspiration. I always had a work ethic. But I continually, even to this very day, am learning. I'm continuing to become a better version of me in all areas of my life, professionally, as a husband, as a father, as a neighbor. The thing that I would say that has been most impactful, I think, in my development, I'm a voracious reader. And so all the successes that are out there, when I say, and I could spend an hour just sharing with you books that I've read, the impact that those books have had on me, but reading these experiences, these life lessons that other entrepreneurs have had, their failures, their successes, and just continually making that part of the way, part of my understanding, my knowledge. It's helped me today as I show up in a board meeting and in a meeting where we're trying to solve an issue. I now have all these years to draw upon, not just my own experiences, but all these books that I've read. And so there are certain things about being an entrepreneur to me, again, basic things, hard work and drive and passion. But the skill side of it has been very on purpose. And with that skill side, I can't emphasize how important it is that there needs to be an imbalance in the skills you develop with people skills. Just knowing how to lead your people, how to care for your people, how to make your people, not only make them feel like they're the most important, but that in fact that they are. If you take good care of your team's going to take care of you.
I love that. And do you read like physical books, or are you
Oh,
more
yeah.
of an audiobook guy?
No, and everyone's different that way. I say just get the knowledge.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I'm a big fan of I get every book that I can on audio with a copy, and I mark up as I'm listening. I'm marking up, so I'll hit pause. I'll mark up what stood out to me. I'll put in the margins my thoughts and comments. Hit play again, and I'll get through the book. Most all my books that I read, I have a hard copy as well as a digital copy that I do together.
And
that's
is
what
that
works best for me.
during work hours, or do you go home and do that?
No, that's I have bookends to my day. Every day, I'm an early riser, and the first 3 hours of my day, every single day, I have a routine, and reading is a big part of that. Developing, and that's spiritually, that's professionally, that's my physical health. I mean, I'm just constantly working on my knowledge.
Love it. If you could tell Sean Collins at 21 anything today, what would you tell him?
Two things. I would say be sure to make sure that your people are as important, that their success is as important as your success. And where you're asking me, this is Sean Collins, I would also say keep the Savior at the center. I am a big believer that Jesus Christ is the great multiplier. And at the center of your life, center of your marriage, the center of your home, everything is just better when he is in the equation.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You got it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of UtahPreneur. Before you go, I've got 3 quick things for you, and I promise to make it quick. Number 1, make sure to follow UtahPreneur on your favorite social platform. All the links are always in the description or the show notes. Number 2, if you love this podcast, please share it with a friend, leave a review, or subscribe, or do all 3. Hey, I'm not going to stop you. And lastly, if you missed last week's episode with the founders of World's Best Corn Dog, Russ and Denise Relier, it really is a wild story of starting from rock bottom later in life and building an amazing business with a partner. So go check it out. See you next time.